Just waiting for the stream to show up. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Just waiting for the stream to show up. Okay, there we go. Verified. Verified. All right. I have some quick topics that I want to kind of get through. And then I am going to be addressing some things that have happened lately. And I invite questions, all that good stuff. But I will say that I had a large part to do with the departures that we've seen lately. I take responsibility for my part in that, but I will definitely be talking about it after I get through some of these topics with you guys. Okay? Because I know I've had a lot of people ask me about it. So, but first, I do want to get through these topics. And first, I want to say we are going to have our Pride Parade this weekend. It is, at 7 p.m. on Saturday, this coming Saturday. And we're going to have a little beach party on Echo Isles before we begin the Pride March on our ground mounts. If you want to do it by foot, that's fine. But it is going to be, I like the idea of having our ground mounts in there, because when do we ever use our ground mounts? Like, really? Like, this is like the perfect opportunity for that. To make our way to a pool party that we will have at Silver Moon Mountain. Okay. And we're kind of taking the same approach as the running of the trolls, and celebrating that, which I typically celebrate that every single year. I've done it for the past 14 years. This is year number 15, so I really hope you guys come in, get some costumes together. We want to see vibrant rainbow of colors from everybody. And there's a total prize pool of $250K gold that I'm funding. And so, we're going to have first, second, and third best costumes. And those costumes really need to be paired up with your mounts and your pets. So it should be fun. And, if you don't, nobody's forced to do that. But there is some information in our Discord, in the public area, that will give you some info on where you can donate. There's a donate button for that. You can donate to the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project is an amazing organization. I've been working with them off and on for the last 15 years. And typically what I do, like last year, we funded, we helped the No Hate campaign, which is about awareness, right? And then there are other organizations like the Human Rights Campaign and all of those things that I kind of shift. So every year is like a different charity that we support. So it would be great if you guys could, hit that donate button and, $5, whatever you can. It would be great to see that. Just helping our fellow brothers and sisters, human beings, right? Really get through some hard times. There's a very high rate of suicide in that community. There's a lot of homelessness in that community, and things that us heteros, I call ourselves, never really get to experience that kind of hate. So I definitely think it's a great cause, and if you can support that, I would be much obliged. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Hope to see you guys there. The second topic I have is guild repairs and generating gold for the guild bank. Now, typically, this has not been an issue in the War Within. I think our repair costs have been tripled by, like, just coming into this expansion. Blizzard decided to fuck us all and pretty much, raised all of our repair costs. I'm hoping that the new changes to that I think came last Tuesday, I wasn't here, helped us with that and helped us lower some of that stuff, right? Like, I think it was, weapons and trinkets, or weapons and something else, right? That don't get damaged anymore, or something like that. Yeah. All right, well, let's hope that that's correct. So the guild bank was bleeding money. We can now let that kind of go on as we're trying to reach the finish line for CE for Olympians, right? We're all here to support our flagship team. Lura's going to take us like 500 or so polls. I'm hoping that we can collect some gold around that, so to be able to support that effort. What is going to happen as of today is, I'm going to be explicitly, we have a rank that all of our raiders will acquire when they're in the raid, and then they will lose that rank. There'll be upgrades and demotions all over the place. Pay no mind to that, right? But, when you're in your raid, you will be promoted up to that rank. That rank will have a balance of 8,500 gold for repairs during the raid. And otherwise, we're going to be taking down the regular raiders. I wanted to make it 0. I think Koth wanted to make it 1,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Skull, on that. Can you guys talk?
Hello?
Okay.
They need to be on push to talk.
Okay. So yeah.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So
I can hear you.
So that's kind of what we're looking to change in the guild. I mean, we've only had that one rank that's had about 2,000 gold allowance. We're just taking that down a bit because we're trying to just make sure things, repairs for raiding are where we're putting our focus, and I think that's where it should be. Folks are, I have no qualms about folks donating and stuff. I just really don't want anyone to get accustomed to, like, having that be the case, right? For other things like M+ and things like that. I really would appreciate if folks kind of, especially since I think most of the teams don't really need much else, or very few of you folks might need something from M+, and we're kind of lifting the requirements of that. And so that's really, the foundation is we want to be able to fund our raiding endeavors. We are primarily a raiding guild. We do a lot of M+, right? Because we've had requirements for that. So I think that's fine. So your raid leaders will have a macro. Skull gave us a macro that we can utilize to promote and demote specifically for the raid hours that your teams are going to be running, okay? That's going to give you that 8,500 gold allowance. The costs is just, Blizzard just really crazy fucked up repaired costs right now. Like, they were not like that in the War Within. And, we typically do keep all of the BOEs and sell the BOEs, and we sell them at 50% cost to guildies to fund our guild bank. But the problem has been that our BOEs aren't selling, right? So, especially with bonus rolls and things of that nature, they're just really not selling. It takes a long time to sell any of it. So, and that's the reason why. Like we started midnight with like almost 4.5 million in the bank, and you know that kind of like made us be good. Like we were good for a while. So there's I've always held this beer and bullshit kind of situation. It's an event that I sometimes run on Saturdays, but anybody could run it. And it's really just, you know, kind of taking a couple of hours and hanging out with guildies and raising funds however you think is the best way to do that. Whether it's fishing, whether it's gathering, whether it's whatever. I mean, we also want to be able to gather materials as well. So like doing things like fishing or doing things like delve diving, or you know, because delves give you the roots that people need for just about everything. The dungeon crawls and kind of saying, okay, whatever money we get here, we donate, those kinds of things, that all can help. And I really do encourage everybody to do that. For people that would rather poke out their eyes with a pencil than to sit fishing in a game for 2 hours, those of you guys, you know, we are trying to pull together the ability to sell some heroic runs, sell some mythic runs, you know, et cetera, and be able to sell a couple of those carries and have that money, or at least a portion of that money, go to the guild bank. So that's something else that you guys can do. Also, it would be something like where it's like 50-50. Like 50% of it goes to the bank and then 50% of it goes to everyone else that helped to participate. So you can make a little money for yourself there and also help the guild out. Now, we're not going to be in the business of running a full sales delivery service for carries. So that's not really what we want to do. That would need somebody to completely manage that, and I don't have time for that. But you know, if we could sell a couple, and every season, just kind of towards the end of the season, as the season lull kind of hits us, which hits us every season, you know, we can just get together and do that. I think those would be the three major ways that we can help the bank not bleed out and help the bank get some funds. Does anybody have any other questions, suggestions, ideas, etc. around that topic?
Not really an idea, but if you need a tank for those carries, I can come along and help out.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, if there's no more questions or suggestions, feel free to like DM me if it's something you think about later and you have some ideas around that. Feel free to DM me about that. The next topic I want to talk about is the teamless in this guild. So the folks that don't yet have a team, but they are looking to raid. So if you're looking to raid, you're not assigned to a specific team. And you know, you're in the guild, tagged in the guild. We consider those people to be teamless. There's going to be a tag for that that's available in reaction roles. It's already available. If that condition, if that use case belongs to you. If you have a team, obviously you're not teamless, right? But how we're going to use this tag is basically, you know, we want to be able to give raid leaders a space where they can appropriately post things and attract the attention of people that might be looking to raid but haven't found a team. In situations where there's like someone on vacation or someone decides to go, you know, to another guild, et cetera, and there's a spot opens, like that needs to have a place where it doesn't get like totally lost amongst chatter. So we have created, in our members only area, we have created Raid Team LFG. I put an initial post in there. There is a way to just directly apply to a team if you feel like you meet the requirements for that. And you can apply directly, so you have the links for those application processes. But you can post in that Raid Team LFG a brand new post and use the templates. You can easily copy them from my post there to add that there. Raid leaders can also add, if they're looking for specific class or something like that, that's going to be the place for it. Okay? And that way, it's not, in a chat that's, constantly being talked about other things in. So it needed a place to be. So then, raid leaders will be able to tag that, and then also we will be able to say, hey, we had someone call out from a raid team. Can anybody fill in? We'll also use that. We want to be able to say, like, we have role tags too. So we have a tank role, we have a healer role, we have a DPS role. You can add those specific people. So like raid leaders and stuff like that should be able to, if you need a healer, at healer, hey, can anybody, fill in for so-and-so who had to work late today? I think that would be, that's fine. Those kinds of things are fine in the raiding chat because they're temporary, right? But the more, long-term stuff we want to put in the Raid Team LFG. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. Then our next topic is getting. So I want to be able. I'm asking folks for, if you take a screenshot and there's a funny moment going on or anything like that, or it's a first boss kill, anything like that. I've made a channel called Official Media, and it could be screenshots, it could be a YouTube clip. It could be a Twitch clip, whatever it could be. You can post that there and give a little context. The reason why I'd like that is because I need to be able to kind of freshen up and get more consistent with the web, our tlp-guild.com intranet or internet site, sorry, and be able to put those things up there and have it be, refreshed and, people can see that. It's great for recruitment, because they get to see a little bit of what we are about, right? So I think that's really important. So there's a place for that to be done. That is in the members chat, the members only chat. So this category, and it's right above this channel, actually, Official Media. So feel free to do that for me, and I will start getting all of those into our guild site. All right, so obviously I said there were a lot of folks that left from Heretics. Most of them were real-life friends, and there was, of course, some people that left because they are friends with them now, right? It's not just that they were in real life friends, but they made friends with people, and they were really awesome folks, a great part of the guild. But that kind of left Heretics stranded a little bit. So if we can look at where Heretics is right now, there's only a few people left in Heretics. And what I was thinking is, I think that we could, if the times are okay for everybody, is merge whoever's left into Tormented, and they can continue to push through the Mythic team. Okay? So if that is you, if you're one of those people, do get with me, get with Gad. He is the raid lead for Tormented, our illustrious raid leader over there. And hopefully we can kind of combine those. Next season, I'm hoping that the team of Heretics can just return to being a heroic AOTC team. And I think a lot of issues were there kind of around the fact that we just didn't have feeder teams, right, for neither Heretics or Deacons at that point, and that created some friction. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Is anybody in here part of Deacons? I mean, not Deacons, sorry. Heretics.
Yeah, I'm part of Heretics right now.
Okay. So would the times for Tormented work for you?
I haven't looked at the times for Tormented yet.
Okay. They are
But
they're Tuesday. That's fine. And that's fine. Just so everybody knows. It's on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, same exact times, 9 to 11.
okay, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So if you are interested in that, just get with me, get with Gad, or get with any of our officers, and we will help to facilitate that. Is there anybody that... Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, I think I came in exactly late enough to miss what I was thinking about. I was trying to talk about. So what was that about Tormented?
Yes. And also about Heretics. So we had just to restate it, we had a whole bunch of people leave to follow some of the folks that were in Heretics, and it left Heretics with only a few people. And so my thought process is to merge those folks that are willing to stay with us, and I'm not forcing anybody or anything like that, but anybody that wants to stay with us to merge into Tormented if the times align. The Tormented times are still Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. So we might get a few folks into that team from former Heretics. And like I said, next season, I really would like to return Heretics team to its original form. Okay. Any other questions about that? Does that make sense, Hydra?
Yes, indeed. Sorry for being late.
No, you're
Are there
totally
any
fine. Yeah.
like written policies about how the teams operate or how the funnel is supposed to work and all this, or is it just kind of on vibes?
Oh, no. That is on our website. So am I sharing? I'm sharing, right? Yeah. So that is here. So on our website, why am I logged out? That's fine. On our website, we have the World of Warcraft chapter. And when you come over here, we have the rating rules, rating teams, our rating methodology, like how we structure all our feedback or how we're supposed to. We have rating rules and how to do it. I mean, we've had everything here for a long time. And it's also linked, if you guys go all the way to start here, and you go to rating info and you scroll up, it's been on here since December 21st, 2025. So it's all linked in there for you guys to read over, but like basically how, and I can go into how this works, like so that everybody understands. So there are learners. So what we've done is we've styled our teams into 3 different styles. There are learner teams, there's progression teams, and then there's competitive teams. Okay. And how that works is, if you are brand new to the game and you're just getting started, we try to continue to offer. I mean, towards the end of the season, it kind of gets like nobody wants to do normals anymore. So we kind of drop it. But we'd like to run that normal on Sundays for folks to kind of dip a toe in very, very slowly and kind of move through and learn and, learn the mechanics of a boss, etc., etc. And then once they get good enough and meet the requirements of the next team, they are heroic learners that is basically made as an AOTC team. And so that team really focus on just getting AOTC for the season. They'll re-clear, and then eventually, like towards the end of the season, we might get bored enough to kind of dip a toe into Mythic, right? But we're not expecting to do really much anything there. But it's to learn. It's really about, that's where you'll learn harder mechanics. That's where you'll learn to interrupts. That's where you'll learn, jobs. That's where you'll learn, get your stuff gemmed and enchanted and all that good stuff. From there, you have the Heroic Plus teams, and they do Heroic until they get their AOTC, and they'll re-clear a little bit, but then usually towards the earlier part of the season, they drop the Heroic and focus straight on Mythic progression, right? So the thing about that is they don't really guarantee necessarily a CE at the end of that, obviously, but you'll just go as far as you want to go. That's our Heroic Plus Mythic team. And folks, as you get better, if you're in the Heroic Learners and you get better and you are doing really well and you're acquainting yourself with everything and your logs are good and all the parses meet the minimums and all that good stuff, mechanics, all that, you can then, if a spot is available in the top, in the step up from that team, you are able to apply for it freely. So in that is by, applying in Guilds of WoW. We have that system where you can apply, to the guild from that point. So as long as you're a guildie, you should be able to apply. Okay. And then from there, as you start getting better and you want more of a challenge and you want to really just focus on Mythic, then you'll have your Mythic progression and Mythic competitive teams. Mythic progression, I don't think that CE is necessarily guaranteed, but that is the main goal, if that makes sense, right? You can, you have RC Loot Council, all that kind of stuff when it's Heroic Plus and Mythic Progression or Mythic Competitive. And you'll be in there, you'll get a look at Mythic mechanics and everything that needs to be done for that. You might, spin off alternate characters, you might, that kind of stuff. And then if you really want the challenge of like trying to get into Hall of Fame, or once we get there, getting in that Hall of Fame team, which requires so much time also, you have to have the time for it, then you can move up to that. As long as there's a spot, you can do. Now, the reverse of that, Silos, is also a thing. We've had people that have moved from Heroic Learners into, Mythic, Heroic plus Mythic, right? Like Heroic progression, basically. And they didn't like it. And they were, instead of having to leave the guild, they were able to apply for a team lower than them. We've had that happen a couple of times, even at the Mythic level, where somebody was just like, this is too much for me, and I need to go take a step down. Okay? So it works both ways. So I think the main reason why we did that so long ago was because we wanted to offer people the ability to go as far as they wanted to go, but not be forced to go higher than they feel comfortable with, and then yet still have, the type of gaming that they want, whether it's a Heroic plus Mythic, which is like a light Mythic kind of thing, or, things like that. Or maybe they just want to do Heroic AOTC. They don't want to do anything else. They like the re-clears. That's what they want to do. That's Disciples, right? So, that's really why we did that. And also just because some folks start out, like say they start with a new class, and they don't do very well with that class at first. If they go through the funnel system, they get better and better and better. And that makes it so that we are growing our raiders, basically. And what we used to do back in the day was all of our Mythic competitive teams that we had were served as mentors to the folks that are trying a new class or brand new to the game or haven't played in a long, long time, right? So like you would be able to go at mage, hey, can someone please help me with my rotation, my talents, my whatever, right? We wanted it to be a very cross collaborative thing, right? And that's why I'm a stickler for it, because I've seen that work. And I don't want to be just another mega guild that has individual teams that never talk to each other, that have a high turnover rate. Because if somebody, does, like that example of like Mythic being too much, right? Well, they have no place to land, right?
What's considered high turnover?
I mean, turnover for those guilds, I can tell you, because I've had several chats with Eternal Kingdoms. They lose like 5 to 7 people every single day. Every single day.
Do they lose their leaders or just members?
Sometimes they lose leaders, yeah. And sometimes they lose entire teams. Because, basically their teams are kind of like mini guilds. They're guilds within guild, right? They function independently. Like Eternal Kingdom has had, I don't know if anybody has ever been in Eternal Kingdom, but Eternal Kingdom has had entire teams leave them. 2 at a time. That was the highest number. Had 2 teams leave completely. But to them, it's like they don't really care about that, right? Because there isn't like cross friendships, if that makes sense. Oh, yeah. Okay. Someone messaged me and said that they were in Eternal Kingdom about 7 years ago. So you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like people just come and go from those kinds of guilds. Yeah. And Eternal Kingdom's not the only one that functions as a mega guild like that.
This is my first guild of a size like this. Other guilds I've been in were only one team. So
Yeah.
is it pretty typical for like members, and especially like, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 team leaders all leaving at the same time? Is this expected going forward?
I don't expect it.
Expected isn't the term that I would use. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's.
Not expected, but likely.
I wouldn't even say likely either. It's kind of more like it does happen, just because a lot of times people do either already have some kind of pre-existing friendship with,
Several people.
members of their team, or as they raid together longer and longer, and they're like, hey, we'd kind of like to strike out on our own. It does happen. It's not ideal, but it's not like
Unheard of, right?
it's not. Yeah, it's not unheard of, and it's not all the time.
It happens. It happens. Sorry, Aslis. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, I can also say that when I joined this guild like the start of last season, and at that time I believe there was only 2 teams, Olympians and Prophets.
Yeah.
So these were all like very recently created teams, so there was not a lot of history there yet.
Yeah. So I can, and I'll be honest. I'm not a person that's dishonest in any way. Deacons, the whole thing with deacons, right, was, to be fair, and I think there are some people here that can vouch for me on this particular statement. There was a lot of toxicity in that team, and I think half of that team really just didn't like what was going on within that team. And when I, tried to approach one of the main people that was causing a lot of that toxicity, it wasn't a good chat. Let's put it that way. He was disrespectful. He was not listening to anybody. He didn't listen to any feedback I had for him. Didn't want to change. So I said, well, we're going to part ways. And that was one of their tanks. And it kind of cascaded from there. Because I don't know who that person was I think they were friends with another person in there. And then we had a couple of people who were just didn't like us or didn't like me, right? And that also was if that person's going, I'm gonna go too, right? But yeah, that conversation was not nice, at all. And I'm not gonna have somebody like not even try to change or not even try to make it a better environment for the people who actually had complaints. That's the truth of it. Silas. Okay?
With deacons?
With deacons, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened to
There was-
heretics and prophets leaders?
I'm going to talk about it, and I will be very honest about that. Like I said before, I take a large responsibility for my part in that. Okay? I'm not perfect. So, and I'll talk about that if does anybody have any other chime-ins before I open up about that? Because I'm gonna get real raw about it in a minute.
I actually kind of do have questions regarding the logistics of the feeder guild schema. I've heard that spoken about often throughout the season. As a person who's played on Prophets the whole season, it's never been clear to me the path that one should take to get an application to Olympians. It seems that people throughout the season were either randomly plucked from Prophets without replacement, or that associates or acquaintances of some of the current members of Olympians were just invited on the team as needed. And there wasn't ever really an opportunity, at least presented before me, and I think it probably applies to the rest of the Prophets, to discuss what that might look like. So I'm wondering, are there objective criteria?
There is.
That and so is that in a place that can be read? Because if we want to do feeder guilds, it seems reasonable to me to have expectations in a place that everybody can look and you can aspire to. Whether it's a log thing, it's a parse thing. You can check where you are in relation to the highest expectations.
That is absolutely correct, and that has been on our Guilds of WoW homepage for that guild management site. It's been there for a long time. But the problem... go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have seen that what you're referring to, but it doesn't appear to be current information or upheld.
Yes, I mean, I will say that for Olympians, the requirements of that are really, we put some requirements out there for the people that are trying to reach at a certain level. We put that out there for them to be able to see, hey, let me get to this spot. Let me cross this line, right? And so we do have that. This goes back to what happened. I've been in the hospital for 2 weeks, and a lot happens in 2 weeks, and I have not been able to update a lot of these things. And but I do know that people need to have like a cross line, like a finish line to like get over, like, hey, this is the goal that I'm trying to hit. So yesterday, I reorganized this so that it says, the style it is, the team name, the progress, the days and times, minimum requirements, but also there's a direct application. Now, there was always a direct application, like from Guilds of WoW. If you look at any of the teams, there is an application. So guild members, as long as you're tagged with TLP, you are able to apply, right? And you are able to kind of see what those are. I'm a recruiter. I can't see the whole thing. But yes, you should be able to do that from Guilds of WoW. I have tried to also keep it in the rating info section. So if we come over here and we go into the rating info, where is it? Right here. Try to keep this here, how to get into a raid team. and I have tried to update this, but it is hard. It's hard for me to, because things change so quickly. But also, just, I do recognize the importance of people having a target, if that makes sense, right? To be able then to apply to those tiers, like, right? And so I recognize that, and I know people want that. That is not often the case for all raid leaders. Some raid leaders are very vague in what they're looking for, and it's really more of a vibe to them. And I mean, what can I say? I wish it was more detailed than just, I'll look around and see what I can see if this person's, like some people just go by, like, they just look at logs, and they won't even just look at the parse. The parse is not an issue as much as it is like a guideline. And it's really about the mechanics, about your survivability, your positioning, your situational awareness. Like, there's a bunch of things that kind of come into play. And I think for the most part, I mean, I can write requirements, but it's just, doesn't quite land with every single raid leader.
Keep in mind as well that, especially the higher you get into, content that requires performance, and there's going to be specific classes that people are looking for as well. Like, you might have everything checked off on the box that's on that list there, but, they already got 2 red paladins or something, and it's just not in the cards. It's just like any other kind of job application. You put an application in, it doesn't mean you get the job. It just means you're under consideration. I've said countless times as we've, expanded the number of teams that we have, that and in real life as well, that no one is going to advocate for you better than yourself. So, one of the best things you can do, aside from just, having the recorded performance with those parses and whatnot, is talk to your raid leader. Hey, can you talk to whatever team's raid leader? Do you think I have what it takes to take the next step up?
Yeah.
And if they don't think you're quite there, they can point it out for you. And then, or I should say, talk to the raid leaders of, whatever team you're looking to move up for. Hey, I'd really like to look for a spot on this team. Either, if you guys have something open up, or in the coming season, I'd really like to be into consideration. What do you think I need to do to get, to have that consideration? Don't just, don't just have a sheet of paper. Don't just rely on your resume, so to speak.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Haku?
I'd say so.
Okay. All right. And again, guys, if anybody here is ever like questioning how we do things, like, you just ask. Like, we are all here to, like, help you get from one place to another, to the next. And even if that means, like, you end up going to, like, a top 100 guild and you don't stay with us, or whatever the case may be, right? Like, that can happen, and it has happened before. We're never going to be mad at anybody doing that. Just let us know, because also, you're leaving a team behind too. That is a team of 20 for mythic teams, right? For any mythic team going in, and you're leaving behind a spot, and it's just nicer if you say, hey, I'm trialing for this guild, and if it works out, I'm going to be moving on. That's fantastic. We're never going to be upset about that. Okay, so if there's anything about our guild that you just don't know, ask. But I do make it pretty accessible. I mean, we have our website, although, I probably think that there's a lot more information now on the Guilds of WoW site. But we also have it on Discord. There's various different places where all of these things are. And you just ask, and we will give you the links to it all, right? Okay, before I run out of breath. I'm going to talk about the heretics. I'm going to talk about the few others. It seemed to me, that I might have gotten in over my head in trying to build the East Coast teams. And to be fair, we started out just having our West Coast stuff. We had as has been mentioned, we had prophets and we had Olympians, and that's how we were going to start. The plan is always to have like the acolytes, the disciples, the prophets, the Olympians, and then hopefully Titans. Titans was my team back in the day. We were a Hall of Fame guild. Well, before there was a Hall of Fame. And we were pretty hot stuff. And we took a break at the end of BFA because we did not like, and this was like a guild. I think people were so kind of pissy about Shadowlands, rightfully so, in my opinion. And so we took a break, and then we thought we'd be back the next expansion. That was Dragonflight. We didn't. And then we got together. Some of us got together to start this back up in the War Within, right? And so we used to be an East Coast guild, and then when I moved, it kind of became a West Coast guild. And so we wanted to just keep it that way. And then we had a group of people that came over, and those were like Quick and Nyx and Apex and all those folks, Tiny, and so on and so forth, that wanted to merge into us. And I thought it would be a good idea for us to try to create the same kind of situation on that side of the world. Okay? So the same kind of funnel system and the different teams and the different levels of teams. I thought that was a great idea. The problem is that the management of that was just not there. And so when we spun off heretics to be like the disciples equivalent to deacons. And Major had that for a while, and he did great with that. And there was a few folks that moved up into deacons from heretics. I think once Major left, Quick was the one that decided to pull like 5 people that were all friends into those higher roles, raid leaders, etc. And I didn't know much about them at all, to be quite honest. But I definitely got the feeling that they did not quite like the people in deacons. And a lot of folks didn't want to be, AKA plucked, right, from Heretics team and put into deacons just because they're doing so much better, right? So I think that created kind of like a resentment, in my opinion. This is just me speaking out of my point of view.
You.
Okay.
I'm backing that up. It was just not, period, end of story, just you. There would be animosity, there would be jokes, they would be inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so those people decided, I don't want to go into that kind of environment. And the few folks that stayed, Hyders won. The few folks that stayed also felt the same way. They were like, dude, if I could go to another team that wasn't this toxic, I would, right? Like, they liked the guild. They like being able to, run M pluses, run this. And I mean, we offer all that stuff, right? So they liked the guild, but they didn't necessarily like being in deacons for those reasons. Okay. And so I feel like it created some sort of resentment, that we would be, possibly pulling some folks from heretics up into deacons. And that was before I approached that tank. You guys in deacons know who I'm talking about. And it started the cascade of the deacons kind of imploding, right? But So, heretics were like, we want to be, independent. We don't want anyone to try to take our members. We don't. So I feel like they just, with their experience with the deacons, just started to go down the path that they just didn't like. They didn't like the funnel system, and they didn't like how it was set up, and they didn't like the structure. And mind you, I mean, like I said, there aren't many guilds that have this kind of system. Like, this is a rare thing in WoW, right? So I think that it started some resentment. Okay, now fast forward. I told them, I told Quick, I told Sabadabadu that heretics wanted to break off and become the equivalent of a heroic plus mythic team. So right at their level. And they absolutely threw a fit. And I said, well, I'm not going to hold back a team if they want to move and shift to another category, if you will. I was going to support that. And they did not like that and Quick quit. Okay? He just wanted his feeder team, basically. That's really what it was. And I was like, well, these people are kind of doing the same, if not better than you are. So, that doesn't make any sense. Let them do what they want to do. And I protected that as leader. And I said, that's, do your thing, boo, right? And I said, okay, we're going to have two teams on the East Coast that are at the same level. They're both heroic plus mythic, right? And I said, you can't, I'll give you guys this, the heretics. I said, you can't recruit from deacons, and deacons cannot recruit from you. Okay? Because I didn't want any more animosity. And I said, you guys are going to have to be on your own for recruitment. So, that's how it stood. And then, guys, here's the thing. Here's the honest thing, okay? I'm not perfect, but I am human. As a human being, my real life is kind of fucked. I think a lot of you might know this. Some of you may not. I have cystic fibrosis. I was born with it. It's a genetic illness, and it will kill me. Okay? And I'm turning 52 this year. And that is a very old CFer. 52. Okay? And I have been dealing with a worsening health situation personally for the last 5 or 6 months. Okay? I go into the hospital. I'm raw. I'm going through a lot. I can only equate those treatments, to be fair, to like chemotherapy. Okay? It's terrible. You lose your hearing, all because you're just being pumped full of antibiotics, all kinds of like hardcore stuff. So I will admit that I have been pretty raw and like extremely raw, to be fair, and sometimes very vulnerable and sometimes also kind of explosive. Okay? That's me being a human being. I don't know if anybody has any objections to me being a human being. But, what happened is we had a new applicant that came in. I had a voice chat with her. She seems so cool and like really good vibes, right? She's a disc priest. And I said, I think she wanted to step into Mythic. She very, very lightly stepped into Mythic, and she wanted to eventually be able to go into Prophets. She's not chasing CE. She just wants to be able to, prog Mythic eventually, right? So I said, well, Prophets did not have a spot for her. And I told her that, okay? And I said, but maybe we can pull you into Disciples. Now, we have always done that for all recruits. If there's not a spot in their preferred, team or whatever the case may be, if there's like a spot or we see a spot open in another team, we offer that, right? Especially because she was just so cool to talk to. And I just felt like her vibes are really cool, right? That's probably one of my main checks first in recruitment, to be honest, because it's a vibe check, right? So she wanted to step lightly into Mythic. There was no room, blah, 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 blah. So I said, I think the Disciples would be a great fit for you. Because as far as I knew at that time, they only had Kit. Kit is a favorite person in this guild, and I know that. She is a favorite person of mine. She has raided with me for 6 months in Disciples. She went and wanted to try Prophets, and she went up into Prophets for a little while, and then she was like, this is too much. I can't do it. I want to come home. So she came, that's how she put it. So she came back to Disciples, okay? And she always knew how I operated, you know, the expectations in Disciples, everything like that. And everybody in Disciples always knows, yeah, you gotta do the work if you want to be in any of the higher up teams, right? And if you go up there and you don't like it, you can come back. I mean, Kit proved that. So, the issue was that I was in the hospital. I wasn't updating the roster, obviously. I incorrectly assumed, that Gale would help with that. And I had no idea that one of our warlocks had switched over to a monk. So there are 2 healers, and one of them that I didn't know about. And so I had a private raid leader chat, and we have those all the time, guys. Like, we talk about our raids, like raid leaders get together, they analyze logs, they do this, they do that. I mean, that happens all the time. And when we got all of our thoughts formulated and put together well, we then, you know, make announcements for you guys in the raid teams, right? Whether that be in the chat that's specifically about, you know, notices and polls for your team, right? Or at the beginning of the raid, hey guys, you know, we got this new thing, if it's a change in strategies or whatever the case may be, right? We have that. And so I was talking with him. We viewed the roster, and he told me that none of it was up to date. And I asked him if Guilds of WoW was up to date. He said no, and that he was too busy for all of that. And I said, no worries, because that's really my responsibility as primary, and that I was sorry I hadn't upkept it while I was in the hospital, right? He told me that he thought we had too many healers in Disciples. And I'm like, well, you have 2 healers in Disciples. I told him I thought it was only Kit, right? So I was going to try to fit this healer in there. And I also knew that Gale couldn't heal. Now, he was typically, when I had the reins fully, he was typically a healer. And Demon also was helping me with that. And so he knows that. He was typically a holy paladin, Gale. And, but since we needed someone to raid lead, Gale said, yeah, you know, I think I can do this. And so he became the shock caller. And he did great. He's wonderful. And, but the caveat was, and some of you guys that are raid leaders or have been raid leaders before, the caveat was that he could not heal and raid lead at the same time. And I get that. I feel that so much. Because I was in that same spot as well back in the day, right? So I said, okay, so that's how I thought we only had 1 healer. And then I saw that we had several people come into the Disciples, so I was looking. So we updated the Guilds of WoW roster, and that's when I found out about Yumi. Yumi had switched from his warlock to his monk, and to be frank, Gale told me that he wasn't really doing very well in the heal department. So it was basically Kit carrying the whole thing, right? Which she can do. She's a great healer. Amazing, right? Like, no problem. But if we wanted to slightly move into Mythic, and our plan was to try to do Rotmire, which was a 15 person flex, right? We needed to have competent healers, right? Kit was one, but we needed another. And I said, the only problem I see there is that, having two disc priests in a same raid group it absolutely can be done. But it does create a situation where you've got to be very mindful of the timing of your atonements. Okay? It's not like the best comp to have two disc priests, but if you do have two, you can time each other's atonements, otherwise they can override. But I told him that. I said, also, Kit is a holy priest as well, so she could possibly switch too. And then I said, Kit told me that she was trying to practice Shadow a little bit in some keys. And I said, well, maybe she would like to practice that in Raid, and we could work it out. And I left it with him that I would go back to this new person and I would ask her if she can flex too. So can she flex into Holy? Can she do other things? So that's where I left it. And I don't know when, but within the next 8 hours, Gail told Kit all about this. And I don't know what happened. I really don't. But the truth is what I told you. That was a raid leader conversation, me trying to do suggestions about how we can make two priests that pretty much have the same spec. How can we make that work until they start learning like timings and things like that, which is much more complex when you have two disc priests. And Kit put in a ticket, and the entire ticket was, very heated. She was very upset. And I had no idea what happened because I was sleeping 14, 15 hours a day because I was in the hospital. So I get a tell from, from someone in leadership basically accusing me of benching Kit or forcing her to go Shadow. And none of that ever happened. I never said that. I've never done that. Ask anybody who's ever raided with me. I have asked folks, hey, can you switch to this? Or can you switch to this spec? Or can you bring in your tank? Can you do this? Ask anyone. I always ask people. And I would have worked it out with Kit. And I'm pretty sure Kit would have been amicable had I been given the chance to speak with her. Okay? That caused a whole slew of situations in that ticket. Because I felt like people were accusing me of something I didn't do. I felt like it was, Gail was in there, Kit was in there, Tree was in there. Like the whole entire leadership was in this ticket. And they were all assuming that that's what had happened. And I felt very attacked. I felt very ganged up on. And I responded in a very not good way. Okay? I will own that, I felt attacked, I felt ganged up on, and I exploded. So, yeah, I'll own that. And that's the truth of it. And they did not like that. I don't blame them at all. I love Kit. Give me a second. I really love Kit. And I still love her today. I love Solaria. I still love, all those people that I'm really close to. But I just felt like I was erroneously accused. And I don't know where that came from. Whether it was from Gail or just Kit, taking it a certain way, maybe. Could happen. When you're upset, you might, But that's what happened. And so they all decided to quit. And frankly, I just felt like I said, there had been some resentments previously, specifically around, feeder teams or funnels and that kind of stuff, like I said before. So it wasn't like something that was just that one thing that made them go. I don't believe so, but I take ownership of my responsibility in it. But no one else has. For their part. That's the truth. So I open the floor, guys.
I think the problem here stems from the fact that a lot of teams like to run their team in a very specific way with very specific people, and I think that they felt like they were being told who you need to bring in and who you need to play where. I think that's what started
Yeah, I agree.
frustrating people. But I think like that team, I think they were very happy with their core player base, but I think they just wanted to keep those people there and get as far as they can with them. If they can't get any more, that's enough.
I know. Oh, I know. They expressed that. They said, I don't want any. They basically said, we don't want anybody to come in here and try to take our players to another team. And that essentially breaks the funnel, right? So I know that started some resentments. That's the start of the resentments. But the end result is, like I said, I take responsibility for it. Guys, I am not perfect. Okay? And also I'm very hot-blooded too. I'm Italian and Spanish. I don't think you could get another person unless it's Italian and German. My late husband was like that, and he was also very, very explosive. But I didn't get to talk to anybody. I'm in the hospital. I'm going through some extremely difficult situations medically, and for that, like I said, I've pretty much left the senior officers and Mez and Koff as primaries here, and I'm just gonna let that play, right? But my problem is when I see things not getting done that other people said that they were gonna do, like that bothers me. That does bother me. Like, oh, I'm gonna do recruitment for you, but I'm not gonna recruit for a funnel. Like Tree said that to me. And she's like, I will recruit for my team, but I'm not going to recruit for a funnel. I'm not going to recruit for, I want to do this very specific thing. And, that is what it is. So, I mean, at some point, there, I have a structure and I want to keep that structure. I do believe the structure works. We don't really take a whole lot of people from any one team at any one time. I think the most we've ever done has been 3 people at the same time. And yes, that was kind of crazy. But one of those was Demon, who was helping me raid lead. Because I don't know if you can notice, like, I can't really talk very well for long periods of time. So, that's why I asked Demon to help me. He helped me in Disciples, and they really loved having him as raid leader there. He was a great shot caller. He's amazing. He's a fucking total genius at it. And so he was one of the people that left from Disciples because he went to try to help Prophets, but also just two mythic teams and raid leading 2 mythic teams was just too much for one person, guys. Like, so that's that. Can we open up the floor and anybody else have comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
And I have a lot of sympathy for what you're going through. I don't have experience with cystic fibrosis, but I've seen my dad go through chemo twice, and so I can understand kind of where you're at sometimes. Has there been any opportunity for you to, like you say, you're taking responsibility to us, but have you apologized to the people that were affected by this explosive behavior when you were going through that?
Yeah, they unfriended me. Every single one of them unfriended me. Like, I'm not, like, they're no longer my friends on Discord. They're no longer my friends on battle.net. So I'm definitely the villain, for them. And that's okay. I mean, I own it. But I honestly, like, I didn't get a chance to do any of that to Silos just because I was in the hospital until this afternoon. And so, like, yeah. Could I try? Absolutely. But what is it going to change at this point? I don't think it's going to change. And also, I mean, I also feel like, no one ever bothered to, and Mez and I, we talked about this, no one ever bothered to ask me what was said either. Right? Like, I'm a little salty about that. Like, everybody accused me. Everybody was, putting in tickets with heated words and all of that stuff. Right? But nobody bothered to, like, even ask me, hey, did you say this? And to be fair, with Kit, it's kind of like a broken heart kind of thing, because I had been raiding with her for 6 months. And I have always been like, I ask her, can you switch from this to this? Or, from this character to that character. Even one time asked her to go back on her druid for a bit. And she like really didn't like the druid at that point. But she did it. She's like, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. Right? Like, she's great like that. But, like, I would have expected her to know that I wouldn't just force her to change her spec into a spec she doesn't even yet know. That's crazy. I just don't understand. I don't know how that breakdown happened, because I know what was said between myself and Gail. And I don't know how it got, quote unquote, telephoned, if you will, to Kit. Does that make sense? Silas, does that make sense to you? Or, like, what do you think I should do? I guess I'm asking.
Sorry, I kind of tuned out for a second. I mean, I don't mean to sound pedantic at all, but I think going out of your way to make an apology, even if you don't think it's going to change anything, if you're saying you're taking responsibility to us, I think you should go the extra step and take responsibility to them and apologize to them. I think that'll go a far way.
I will definitely
even
try
if, even if
that,
it doesn't bring them back in the guild. I mean, I think Kit deserves that. I think Rectangle deserves that. I think a lot of people deserve that. If you believe that you were in a raw moment, vulnerable moment, and had explosive behavior and said things you don't really mean, you're just in a bad state. I think an apology for that would go a very long way to those people.
Yeah, I would agree. I can certainly try. But, like, honestly, like, I mean, I don't think what I did, I was never mean to anybody directly. All I was defensive. It wasn't like I exploded in some sort of, like, vulgar manner or, nothing like that at all. I was just very defensive. I was like, I keep saying I did not say anything like that. I would never say anything like that, nor would I do that. And I kept saying it, and it was just ignored. Like, they were pretty much already convinced, and it was always like, well, I think Tree said something around, like, we'll acknowledge her feelings. And I said, yeah, well, I can acknowledge her. If somebody said that to me, I would be pissed too, right? Like, oh, I'm going to force you to play a spec you don't want to force, or you get the bench. Like, I would be upset. Yes. So for that, I certainly will apologize. But I'm not going to, what am I, like, where's my apology for, like, the accusation? Like, also, there's two parts to everything, right? In my opinion. Am I wrong in that?
You're not wrong, but you are the guild leader, so I think it's kind of more on you to lead by example by apologizing first.
I mean, absolutely. I try to reach out to Kit. I am not able to. I mean, how else can I do that? Can I just send it like in game? I don't even think I can send it in game mail. She's on a completely different like server. Like, you know how you can't send mail to other people. Like, I am very willing to sit down with her. I'm very willing.
Yeah. Well, I'll point out one of the funny things is like this is in a private chat in Discord, but it's live on YouTube. So there's potentially some people that are interested in an apology that are listening.
Well, I am apologetic. I'm apologetic for exploding in the way that I did in that thread. And I'm apologetic for that. I was in absolute tears the entire time I was writing in there. And I, completely apologize for that. I'm not, unaware that my the way that I answered something was, or the way that I responded to this was inappropriate. I'm not aware. Like, it's not like I'm aware. It's not like I'm not aware. But, at the same time, like, I mean, I got accused of something that absolutely is just not in my character, like, at all. And honestly, I think that, and I talked to Nyletha about this, I think, it was just that I think Kit also put in the ticket in the wrong place or something. And so all the leaders were added to it. Right, Nyletha? That was the case?
I mean, should it have been handled more privately? Yeah, but
yeah.
I'm still of the belief that you don't respond to a ticket about you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very hard because I'm also server admin and stuff like that. That's why I say, like, I need to find ways to, like, make that more anonymous, I guess, right? But also just, I mean, it just caught me in a bad moment. That's really what it is. And I'm just, I'm already, that's just how it was. I am very apologetic about my response. But it's just, I don't like being accused of things that I didn't do. But also, I really, I was having a private raid leader chat with Gail, and I don't know how it turned from what I said to Gail to how it was depicted by Kit. I don't know how that happened, but that certainly did happen. And it's like, I'd like to know why she had, this frame of mind. I wanted to talk to her, but yeah, they're not friended to me. Yes, and this is up on YouTube, live on YouTube. Got it. But also just, there's two parts to this too. I mean, it's not like somebody must have told her something, or she just misinterpreted something, because I will stand by the fact that that is not what I said at all, ever. Nor is that anything that I would ever do. Never have, never will. That's very, like, play this.
It may not have been your intention, but I think it did come across that way. Like, I had told multiple people that I thought Kit was going to leave. Like, I thought she was that upset. Like, that's how I read it.
Yeah, but how did she get that information? Right? And how is it that it was framed like that? I didn't say anything like that. Like, not even remotely. and I had left it. The only decision I made, I mean, the new person hasn't even been added to our guild, right? I left it with Gail that I would reach out to this new person to see if she could flex. That was the only decision I made. So, and also I was worried because if we were going to do, and we talked about, him and I also talked about doing Rotmeyer. And I said, well, do you know Rotmeyer Mythic? And he was like, no. And I was like, who's going to raid lead that? Like, that was a question, and I was like, okay, well, I got to figure that part out. Who can I get to help the disciples in that, in that aspect of it? So I think that would have been a lot for Gale to handle on his own. And I mean, we were talking about that. But yeah, that's where it is. I mean, like I said, I would love to have the opportunity to talk to Kit. Absolutely. Because she's the one that was upset enough to like put in a ticket to the entire leadership, I guess. Right? But we'll see
if I may add, I know I'm a little late to joining in. So hello everybody. But I think now that this is all kind of out and about for everybody, I think this is a extremely important lesson to be learned about how communicating needs to be functioning, how leadership needs to be handled.
Yeah.
Like, we essentially, as a guild, just lost some extremely, extremely valuable people to just really silly circumstances that could have been easily fixed if we are willing to be more flexible and more understanding and lead with a better foot forward. So I think this is an example of, like, even though there are rules that we have, even though there are things that we look to accomplish as a guild, we need to be more flexible, because this is what will happen, right? Like, we're at such a vulnerable place now because of this, and it's like, I mean, it's heartbreaking, right? Like, when we just lost like some of the best people that we've had, and like, this isn't the first time that something like this has happened, right? Where there's been conflicting ideals and whatever, and I would just really hope that the lesson would be learned here that communication has to be handled differently, like, and flexibility needs to be more like accepted, because if you have so many important people speaking up about something that's not working, there's probably a reason that they're speaking up about it. And if people at the end of the day don't like what's going on in the guild, and they have good ideas and reasons to want to help and change, I think being more flexible and being willing to change on some of those things is crucial. Because at the end of the day, if it's, the classic thing of like, hey, this is not a democracy, this is my way or the highway kind of thing, like, it's a revolving door that will just never stop spinning, unfortunately. And at a certain point, like, that's not sustainable. And I mean, we're at a place now where it's like, look what's left, right? Like, that's very, very, very difficult, and it's sad. Like, it's honestly really sad. So I would just throw that in there, that I just hope that this is a lesson to just, for in all aspects, just be better about communicating, better about the way that that everybody leads, that we structure things and all that. I don't know that I have much else to say on it, but I think that's kind of it.
Can I offer something as an outside perspective?
Yeah, of course. Everybody can.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I have listened to what happened, and I think I agree that what happened was an unfortunate case of miscommunication. And I agree that I think that it can be a very valuable lesson to the consequences of not allowing someone to say their piece, so that when someone is saying, I didn't say this, I didn't do this, I think it's a good chance to take a step back and look at the situation from a different perspective. Because I think if someone had just went, wait, she's saying one thing, this other person's saying another thing, where is the disconnect happening? And I think if someone had the chance to go do that, I think a lot of this could have been avoided. Just as someone who is coming in from the outside, and I was an officer in the previous guild I was just in, and we had a problem where decisions were made and no one else was informed. So I think that can be a very big problem for larger guilds, where there's a disconnect between things that are said, things that are done, and there's not always a clear explanation as to why. And I think if that had been given a why, I think a lot of that could have been avoided.
That is fair.
Just my 2 cents as someone who just got here and I'm seeing it from the outside.
Welcome to the guild.
I mean, it's also using the systems as they're intended. The whole reason why we have tickets that only certain people can see is so that if your ticket involves someone in a position of leadership, you can put in a ticket above them, and they cannot see it, right? And
it's like an HR problem.
In my opinion, ultimately, I think everything would have been fine if we just don't respond to tickets about ourselves. I know it's hard when you can see them and you can read them,
Yeah.
and there's no way of putting them anywhere where you can't, but letting someone else be the mediator of a conflict is necessary.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very outlandish concept.
No, absolutely not. And I also think that, you know, if you're going to be a mediator, right? You can't just immediately assume one side is correct.
I mean, so I'll ask specifically,
Yeah.
like, if I have a ticket that I want to write about Koff, or a ticket that I want to write about Danny, how do I make that ticket? Or is it kind of like, well, if I have an issue about Danny...
So, a lot of
that's kind of it. Like, there's no point in writing a ticket. Like, I have an issue with the guild leader, I can go get fucked.
Yeah. I could see that. And you know what? Honestly, I don't know how I can make that better. I also know that I have been asking for changes to the ticket system for a while, which have not been done. And the problem becomes kind of that I am also server admin, right? So finding an anonymous way within Discord, I think, might be difficult, and it may just need to exist outside of Discord. I mean,
I think what I'm hearing is that people are saying, hey, even though you can see it, the right behavior is, not from a technical perspective, but from a policy perspective. Is to not react.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
But I mean, that happened to Nyletha, so.
I had a ticket made about me that I could see.
Yeah.
And I just didn't respond because what am I gonna do? Like, I can't go. You can't go into a ticket defending yourself about a problem about you.
The
only thing that I know. Okay.
No, continue.
In one of the guilds that I came from before, EX Inferno, which I think actually is on the our servers, a bunch of you guys, we had several really important what we called community officers. I see that you have them in this guild, but the ones in EX Inferno had a completely different purpose. Their purpose was to be a mediator, like a triangle point between you and existing members of the guild that you could have problems with that had potential control over your ability to have fun. So it was like there was literally 4 to 5 people in EX Inferno that were appointed to not necessarily be police, but to basically be counselor. As stupid as that is.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if you have a problem with your raid leader, and that raid leader happens to be like, I don't know, literally friends with almost every other raid leader in the entirety of the guild, and guild leader, you can't feel the literal definition of awkward trying to put in an HR ticket over this person. Right. But if there's a person whose literal job is to be part, not attached to the attention, they're not, they're on other teams, or they're not on teams. Their whole job is to not be attached to the motivation of what is a raid team, but to be able to be like, hey, I am bringing you this person, to you in this case, the person they have a problem with, from one of your teams. They felt awkward about talking to you about it, so they talked to me. There needs to be that somewhere in this guild.
There needs to be somebody willing to do that.
I mean, because we don't have that system. I know you brought up like being ganged up on Danny. That like it puts leadership in a weird position when it's you versus someone else. Because I mean, realistically, like there is nothing they can do. They will just get walked over, right? So it comes on to the other leadership to come effectively defend them so that they don't get walked over by the guildmaster. Because I mean, it's either that or they might as well just leave, because you don't win a conflict versus someone like that in that level of power.
I think that if somebody had been in between, that would be more like, hey, this issue came up. Okay, what happened here? I think it would have been a lot different outcome. Right?
Rather than threads, can the tickets be set up as DMs as well? That way, like, say there's a ticket that's set up, like, you can flag it as for, like, Danny or a co-GM, that then there's other people that then can be, it won't be created as a thread inside of Discord, but then it will be routed to a
I wonder if there's a way, like, like it could be a group message.
Like, in my other guild, the raid leaders, we're called the War Council, and we have our own, outside of the Discord, we're just a group in Discord as a messenger to where we talk there instead of inside the Discord itself.
I mean, we have private channels, right? But I say
it's not attached
specific
to the Discord itself.
Okay.
It's just messenger.
Yeah.
We have our own little messenger group. So like if like an admin, like you would not be able to see that group because it's not even in the Discord.
Right. Yeah. So I think that I have Me6 and I'm a premium member of Me6. So I think that with that I can do that. It can be private messages, I do believe. I can look for something like that because I would rather have that than something I have absolutely zero control over. You know, which is where I'm at now. So that's something we can look at to improve that. I like that idea. I mean, you know, what am I going to say? I don't know if people are like that dissatisfied with me. I would hope it's something that we can like rectify. Right?
I mean, it comes.
But
it
like
comes
one
back,
thing,
it,
it would.
Yeah, go ahead.
You go ahead, Donnie. I'll go after.
I was just gonna say it comes back to the whole beginning of this conversation is that you're not perfect. You're a human being, and and on top of all that, right? You're going through a lot. Like you're going to make mistakes, and people are going to have problems with you, and you.
Yeah, but like I said, like
there
also
just
like
needs
I
to
said,
be
yeah, but
a way.
also like I said, and I left that like I think that there was already a point of resentment in those people way before this incident, right? I mean, you guys have all told me that. Is that correct? Or am I not?
No, yeah, probably.
Well, like also like so like the ticket could be also be a de-escalation point before it reaches to you, and then like a mediation to work it out. Like I see what you're saying, and but then like you're not like that person would then be familiar with you to know that you probably didn't mean it that way, and they could then de-escalate from that point instead of you being in there
Right.
and then feeling
No,
attacked
absolutely.
and then type thing.
Oh, 100%. And like I said, if Kid ever hears this, I apologize to her for the way that I reacted. And I really do mean that because I really loved Kit. She was great. She is great. She is one of the greatest people that have been in this guild. So I really do like I'm sorry for the way that I reacted. I just couldn't handle multiple people coming at me in that moment. Right? So yeah, that's all I can say.
To that, I just want to say that I recently joined the Mythic Raid team, and Demon is our raid leader, and he's a jerk. No, I love Demon. It's a great group, and I think
I agree.
I think from what I know about Demon is if he goes through an emotional moment or a really difficult moment in life, because we all have those life moments, I think he would lean on to the other leadership that we have in our raid team, and just kind of ask them to step up. Just say, hey, I've got this stuff going on. Can you guys just step up and just take care of this and this and this for the next whatever amount of time? So that way I can kind of focus on this part, because I want to make sure that the group is always receiving the best. And in leadership, sometimes you have to leave what's going on in your life at the door, or it will affect the group. And I think we do have that in that Mythic Raid team. And I'm wondering, is there something in place to where while you're going through these things and it's challenging to manage what you're managing in the guild and also in life, is there anything in place that you see that you can kind of lean on to your other leaders that you respect and you view as equals?
Yeah, so I will say that I have had, I would say that I have leaned pretty heavy on Demon and Skull. Demon recently was promoted to senior officer. That's very recent. But even as just a raid leader, I have always leaned on Demon and Skull for the last, I want to say, 3 months. Skull has been amazing. And it shocks me because out of everyone, I never thought it would be Skull that I would prefer. I would say, like, I talk to Skull a lot about a lot of the different things. And the problem with me is also, and just to be fair, like, if I see something not getting done, it is just innate in me to go and do it. Like, I slipped because I'm primary for disciples, and I didn't get to like update. This is how I feel. I didn't get to update that system, and maybe in some way Gail should have probably like stepped up and been like, "Hey, Danny, I know you're away," and maybe I should have asked him, and I just completely forgot to ask him. So I don't scurry that. It's not like I'm, leaning like responsibility to someone who didn't even know that they had to be responsible for that. But there are just some pieces that I missed. And like also just, I've been trying for a long time to get folks to be good about having their rosters updated and having things done and having, so we can all have a holistic view of like everybody in everybody's teams, because, you know, if Olympians is pulling from prophets and prophets it's pulling from disciples, like they should know the stats of that team, right? Like I feel like, and that's been really difficult to upkeep, and it's kind of fallen on me completely. But that's also because people just believe like I have like some sort of like the things that I ask for are not difficult. They're really not, and they
difficult.
just don't.
I hear they're tedious.
Yeah.
And kind of pointless.
Well, how is it pointless to know, like, the roster of a team?
That part's not. But I mean, like, averaging DPS across 10 bosses is pointless.
I mean, that's pretty much what Warcraft does. Right?
I understand going through things for most of your life can make things feel like if something's not in your control, it can make it even, you know, a stronger feeling.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
control
100%.
in everyone's life
right.
is important. And I'm wondering if maybe some of that need for control is maybe causing some of the challenges that it sounds like leaders are having amongst.
Yeah, but leaders, just to be fair, I've never asked leaders to do any of the data stuff. All I've asked them is to keep their rosters updated. Just to be clear. I've never asked them to calculate data. I've never asked them to do that, right? If it's not useful to you, the fact is that it can be useful to people. I know that there's a lot of folks that actually do look at those stats. They haven't in a while just because it's just not able to be updated. But it's nice to see, you know, hey, not have to go through Guilds of WoW, you know, WoW audit spreadsheet, WoW, you know, Warcraft logs, all the different systems, right? Like that we use. It's nice to not have to do that because it's all aggregated in one place, right? So like that I do believe that that's useful, even for me to see kind of like if I can, when I update those things, I can definitely see like a lot of things about a team, right? So, but that's not anything that I've ever asked a raid leader to do. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys feel differently. I mean, Silas, obviously you have a feeling about it, that it's not useful to you at all. Okay, that's great. But I mean, I think that keeping up the rosters and things like that is like, some people can't even sign up for a raid without being on the Guilds of WoW roster, right? So, I don't know.
I feel like making a raid plan is important, and we didn't do that on the second day of Laura.
Yep, I agree.
I guess I was going to ask, like, what the responsibilities of the raid leaders are.
Right, exactly.
Because it doesn't seem like it's a lot.
It's not. I mean, I can show you. I can show you guys. Like, let me pull up Olympians. I'll pull up the Olympians management sheet. Or maybe just... I'll pull it. I'll pull it. Basically, you know, I like to gauge everybody's, like, how this changes. This has been very, very good info. There's a lot of folks who weren't purple before and now are, which is fantastic to see. So the only thing I have asked a raid leader to do, okay, has been columns D through H. That's it. I have done everything else all the time, right? I've asked them to track attendance because Warcraft, like if you go to Warcraft, right, and you go to our page and you go attendance, All this does is tell you that they were a presence in that team. It doesn't tell you whether they were late. It doesn't tell you whether, et cetera, whether it was unexcused. It doesn't tell you any of those nuances, right? So I asked them to update this part, right? Tell me if somebody was late, if somebody was excused, if somebody was not on the team yet, right? So like all of this, right, is what I asked them to do. This, just these columns, making sure that I have all the people in a team, right? And, what they are, because sometimes they have off specs, right? They have other specs that they could also do. That's nice information for me to know, because the way that I read the Warcraft logs at that point, it would be different, right? And this one here tells me a person has a swap. Azalus has many swaps. So this one tells me that this person can flex. They can flex into other specs, right? So like there's that's it. This is it right here. That's all I've asked them to do.
Are you saying the raid plan is not part of what you asked them to do?
No, I'm just saying as far as this is. So let me show you guys. Hold on, I'll go to the main master spreadsheet. Here we go. And if we come over here, here it is. This right here is what I've asked them to do. So let me go and say blank. What does the primary do? Okay. Secondary. No. Primary. Primary is basically responsible for the team in general, right? They're the bee's knees of a team. Their responsibility for strategy and research. So yeah, being out there, getting some videos, getting some, how to do this, how to do that, what do we need to watch out for, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Beta tests, that's a whole other thing. I get special codes for beta tests. Or I'll get even invites into closed beta. That's a whole other thing. When I get that, I could share that if they wanted it. But a lot of that happens. The problem with that is that a lot of that happens during the freaking workday. So annoying. It's like whatever. So then they have to have, roster evaluation. So they're evaluating the roster, who's going in, who's going down. They're making rotational decisions about that. They define what trial spots they need for the next season. Again, some of these things, seasonal. Some of these things are seasonal. Some of them are every week. Some of them are as needed, right? So like update roster systems, update raid requirements and needs, right? All this stuff. Then there's the raid plan is in here. Absolutely. Here it is right there. Raid plan creation. Share raid plans with second and third so they can review it and they know what's going on. And then they can adjust if needed. And then they are supposed to post a finalized raid plan, CD trackers, and informational content to the notices and polls for your teams. That is in here. When did I write this? I'm going to right click, go to history. So a lot of people want to say, oh, I ask too much or there's too much to do. But really, honestly, I asked my primaries to equip you guys with the necessary information you need. Now, sometimes they do that. I will say Cough does that. And then nobody reads it.
That is not true.
I mean,
what
the first 2 days of Laura, people were asking questions about like where they were in the kick order and what the macro was and stuff, and all Koff could do was point at the prep that he made. That
I mean, right?
Well, someone's like, am I kicking? And it's like, it's on the thing. What's the macro to kick? It's on the thing.
Right.
Who's holding a crystal? Who picks them up first? It's on the thing.
There is personal responsibility that every team member has to do, right? For this to be any kind of values. Because when I tell Cough and I'm like, hey Cough, is that raid plan ready? And he's like, why? People don't read it. Right? I mean, that's that's how it's been. So there is some personal responsibility to some of this stuff, but it's in here. It's all in here. If I come in here and I go second, what do they got to do? Well, set invite lists, designate the assistants, raid announcement, pre and post.
It's not true that no one reads it. I'm constantly asking for it days ahead of time and asking questions about it and looking at other strategy videos.
Oh, yeah.
And for Laura, we still don't have a full raid plan.
Right. So that was facetious on my part, Silas. My apologies. It's just what Koff would say. If even like 3 or 4 people aren't reading it.
Yeah, and I'll say this because it's something that is very much irritating me personally. Mm-hmm. I hate being on a team where the leader thinks everyone is stupid. I'm so tired of this. Where we have this expectation of no one reads it. That's not true that no one reads it.
Well, I mean, I don't know because I'm not there, right, Silos? But what I have heard people say to me, Koff and others, is they get a ton of questions, and Iletha's just said the same thing, right? And they get a ton of questions.
This says 3 days ahead of time. The raid plan we got for the first part of Laura was posted 3 hours before raid time. So of course there's questions when we go in, because no one had adequate time to look at it before raid.
I would agree. See, I have tried to get that to be posted at least 24 hours before, at bare minimum. And all I can do is ask. Right?
There's been people that have been benched like an hour before the raid, or like in the early times when we raided, there's been the roster is posted an hour before raid, and it's just like, holy.
That's not good. Right? So, I mean, a lot of it isn't. There's only so much I can do, right? I'm a guild I'm a manager, right? Like I'm you know, the only thing I can say is then I need to make sure that somebody else is in that role.
Could you go back to the primary just for a second?
Yeah. Let me go to primary. Clear. PRL.
So I was just looking at that, and none of that is anything that you wouldn't have to do if you are a raid lead at someone else's guild. You have to do all that anyway. This is just in a nice, orderly list put out right in front of your face. So it looks like a lot, but most people who have been a raid lead have done all of this without the nice list. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I know. I know because I was in my team back in the day. My Titans team was. This is where I got it from, because my co-GM, Ocnarian, did all this exactly like it's laid out. So I don't, you know. Again, all of that, like nobody. Like, people should at least have a 24-hour leeway into whether or not they're going to be on the bench for that run. Okay? I've said that several times. I mean, Skull has had to put up some of those things because we weren't getting them on time, or, you know, or it was just not going to get posted, so Skull would post it. Right? So I definitely want that to come from, you know, from the raid leader team, right? So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. You know, the assistant, we have a third, and the reason why I have a third raid leader is so that they can step into either primary or secondary if either of those two people can't make it, right? Redundancies. I have built redundancies into every team. I like to have 3. Also, 3 people, they can take a vote on something and there's an offshoot there, right? There's always going to be a majority, right? So that's why I did that. And they can, you know, provide some help within the raid itself, like handle VIP callouts. There's some important callouts. Nyletha does that. I've heard him. Promote or demote for the raid repairs, which is something that we've been talking about for a while. and update the guild ranks for the team. Like everybody should be at the raider rank if you're in a team, a raid team, right? Placing world and object markers. They help in this sense inside the raid. They also have other things like logging attendance. Because again, I mean, like I said, Warcraft is only going to tell you whether you had a presence in the raid, but it doesn't tell you if you were late or if you didn't show up at all. There's a space. Why? Were you excused? Did you actually tell someone before? Did you sign off? From our RSVP system for all the raid teams? Like, that kind of stuff is just, there's also a lot of personal responsibility people have to take, too. And I know, and Silos, this kind of goes to you. I know there are some folks like yourself that do all the things that you're responsible to do as a raid team member. And how does that make you guys feel, right? This is gonna, hold on. How does that make you guys feel if somebody, on the team isn't doing their part while you are? It's not good.
Well, my issue is the leaders aren't doing their part.
Well, yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy when they say no one's reading the raid guides, the raid plans aren't posted in any adequate time to actually read them. No one looked at this 3 hours before raid time. It's supposed to be there a day ahead of time. No one knows that they're coming to the boss when the roster is posted an hour before raid time. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy on the leadership part.
I agree. So how do we fix that?
I've offered to help with the raid plans. I've been told no every time I've offered.
I did not know that. So maybe somebody else needs to be primary. Nyletha?
Just give me a sec.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer this because, and like our new member, Vast, was saying, these are things that pretty much have always been the case for raid leaders. I didn't pull these checklists out of thin air either. It's not,
We just need someone who has more time.
Yeah.
More free time.
Yeah.
Like most of the issues boil down to like we log in at like 6 or 7, 8 p.m. and then you take on the responsibility, right? Like you agreed to do to it. It's not supposed to be an excuse to not do it. But you take the limited free time that you have to play the game to plan the raid. And then I agree that yes, like you make decisions that happen an hour before raid, but there are also times where we do post the raid plans far before the raid, like the day before or even 2 days before, and we post the raid plan the day before or 2 days before, and it is just annoying. And when we say that nobody reads it, it's a blanket statement.
Yeah.
Right? Like we could I could go and I could give you the names of everyone I know hasn't read a raid plan that was planned well beforehand. I could give you their names. But there's no point in sitting down and calling out a bunch of people. Like, it just isn't like a...
Yeah.
It's toxic, right? Like, I mean, it's
toxic to have accountability?
It's toxic, like, yeah, we sit down with the people and tell them that they need to fucking read it, but, like, just blasting them in front of the entire raid? I mean, what...
Yeah, there's a difference between accountability and public shaming.
Who's talking about public shaming?
Blasting, you didn't read the raid plan beforehand in front of the other, 18, 17 Olympians. It becomes a point of just,
where's this coming from, though?
Like, we're just making
Who is saying that?
That's just how it is. In fact, we know this is true because we played around with the idea of public log reviews, where we sit down in a call and we go over the logs and we pick people apart in there. And people have sat in those log reviews and we're like, this person did this thing wrong at this time, and this person did this thing wrong at this time, and we've been told that fucking sucks to hear. I don't want my gameplay to be picked apart for an hour. But we did it to everyone. And some people were like, okay, and some people hated it. So do we now have to pick and choose who's okay with being blasted in front of all the Olympians and the people who aren't okay with being blasted in front of all the Olympians? And this is getting off track. My point is that when we're trying. I didn't know that you offered help, Xylos, as far as I'm aware.
I didn't know that either.
Like or at the very least, I wasn't paying attention, and I'm sorry. But I'm also the tertiary raid lead, and I have far less time than they do. It's the whole reason I'm not a raid leader in any higher capacity. I just don't have the time.
Right.
But, like, Xylos, you're like a shining pupil of the raid. Like whenever we're like, oh, blah, 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 the Olympians aren't doing this, you're almost never supposed to be the target of it. In this very particular situation.
Yeah. But either or. I think, Silas, you are bringing up some very key things, and I think we also need to rectify those issues. I do appreciate you coming, and saying, hey, we have a problem with this and we have a problem with that. And I don't want that to ever stop. But if the raid team of Olympians, if the leadership of that team doesn't have time to do something, they need to learn to delegate.
If you want the specific Lura example, right? Mm-hmm. The Lura fight is an incredibly long fight.
Yeah.
The video is an incredibly long video, and the raid plan is a long ass raid plan. As far as I'm aware, it was made with the limited time that we had. Like, sure, we could have been planning it a week in advance, but we were fighting Belloren and trying to figure out how the hell Belloren was going to die. Because we had to play around with the strategy of Belloren like 3 times in order for him to even die.
Didn't we have a whole week of reclear where we didn't do anything?
I think.
That was the Tuesday that he died.
And then the Thursday where we recleared
5, 6 bosses, whatever it was.
Then we got phase 1 strategy for Lura a couple hours.
Yeah,
before
I don't remember it being.
And then you made intermission mid raid because we progressed faster than you expected. And so everyone was unprepared because the raid plan wasn't completed before raid. We were making the raid plan as we were going for the later phases, for the intermission at least.
So, guys, we've kind of derailed here a little bit. And I think what I would like to do is, if anybody else that's not part of Olympians doesn't have any other questions, and again, if you don't have any questions for now, you can always keep them for later. Send them to me, to Mez, to Koff, to whatever, right? And we'll answer them. Again, like I said, I mean, I'm terribly sorry that things happen the way that they happen. I can't apologize more than I can do here. I am going through a lot, and I am leaning more on Mez. Mez has very limited time too. Very hard to do that. I'm leaning more on Skull. I'm leaning more on Demon. I'm trying, but there are things that aren't getting done, which make me go, well, why haven't we posted the roster? Why isn't this done? Or why isn't, applications being reviewed? Or why, stuff like that, right? And when I will say that when I see that I will pick up and do what I need to do. So I'm reviewing applications and things like that, even though I said I'm going to try to take it easy because I care about this guild. I care about the teams here. I care about all of you guys being successful. So, but I have my flaws, like everybody else. And so, I think you guys can all go. Again, like I said, send me any direct messages. Add me as a friend on Discord. Send me any direct messages. And then if you are an Olympian and you want to stay and hash out some of these issues, please do. And we will continue.